Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Talk Exchange. Today we have Stacy and Teresa with the nonprofit Child Abuse Prevention Montana. So they're here to talk about their experience and work in the prevention of child abuse. They talk about how they started, their mission, various efforts across the state, the trainings that they offer, improving outcomes, and so much more. Hope you enjoy this one, and we'll see you again next week.
Welcome to Talk Exchange. I'm Tracy Edwards, CEO of the National Exchange Club.
And I'm Christy Lindahl, Director of Communications.
Christy, I've been really looking forward to this episode because our two guests today have been really involved in our network for many years, and they will be with us at our convention in Omaha, back with their expertise and their knowledge and work in the field of prevention, which is so important to Exchange and for sure of course throughout this country. So I'm excited to see Stacy and Teresa again and to hear what they're doing now and how it can impact our network.
Absolutely. You know, coming off of Prevention of Child Abuse Month, it's great to, put a nice little bow on everyone's efforts and say, this is how we're going to continue to make an impact beyond April.
Absolutely. That's what it's about, really. And I know our focus is year-round, and a lot of clubs focus their efforts in April, which is important, but we want to see that effort year-long because the problem doesn't stop outside of that. So it's continued. Well, welcome, Stacy and Teresa. Can you both start by introducing yourselves and tell us a little bit about the work of Child Abuse Prevention Montana, how it started, and kind of the mission behind your organization now?
Sure. I can start. I'm Stacy Dreessen, and of course, like Tracy said, I'm from Montana. CAP Network was part of one of our programs, and now it is kind of its own entity. We do training, advocacy, and awareness, and I do training and consulting, and I'll kind of let Teresa say what she does.
Great.
Hi, and it's great to be back, Tracy. It's been quite a few years since I've been director of Child Abuse Prevention Network for the center in Montana as well. And as you know, we were one of only two centers at the time. Stacy and I think both of us were about 18-year veterans of our centers.
Yes.
And so we've been doing the child abuse prevention work for a long, long time. And I think for myself, and I've been part of the Child Abuse Prevention Network of Montana since its inception, along with Stacy, which has been since the mid 2000s. And so over the years, we had a different level of time and energy to put toward the individual effort of the network. And so just in the last couple of years, we've both been able to really focus our energies since we're no longer center directors,
Right.
We have a little bit more time. And so, Montana just really needed kind of a coordinated, cohesive effort statewide. And so we are able to fill that gap and really help. We don't do direct service like the centers do, obviously. And so our efforts are really in that sort of overview space where we're coordinating efforts and we're aligning programs across the state. We're offering trainings and that, and we can get into that a little bit more. But I think the other thing that I was hoping to just say is that I think both Stacy and I don't mean to speak for Stacy, she can speak for herself, but this is just something that I couldn't get away from. I have taken a couple different turns here in the last few years, and I just keep coming back to child abuse prevention. It's just so critical.
Absolutely. I love that it's embedded in your heart and really in the work that you want to do. I like the space you're in now because as you're speaking and as we were preparing for this, I thought, wow, that's so necessary. Really somebody who coordinates the efforts, kind of ties people together and gets them where they need to be. We were also thinking too, we use the word prevention a lot, of course, throughout the network, throughout Exchange, and it's a really big abstract word. So when you talk about prevention in your work, what does that look like day to day?
Yeah, we do, like Teresa said, we don't do direct service, but we do a lot of coordinating. We do a lot of consulting. We do a lot of training. Training is a huge part of what we do throughout the state. And we're really excited to come to Nashville and do a training. It's been a couple of years since I've done that, so that'll be fun. But we do, some of the trainings we do, the parent aid home visiting model, darkness to light, stewards of children. We do complex trauma, and we have 21 modules of that.
Wow.
Visit coaching, adverse childhood experiences. Teresa does nurturing parenting training of trainers. And I can let her say some of her other things that she does. So a lot of it is training. It's also awareness. I liked how you said earlier, Tracy, that child abuse prevention. Of course, we really talk about it in April because April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, but we do child abuse prevention all year long. So we really promote activities, events, anything we do, we're talking about prevention. All of the trainings that we have are really focused on prevention and primary prevention mainly. And then also awareness, just having people be aware of what that means and how can everybody prevent child abuse and neglect, because we all can. So that's something that we do. We also do advocacy, where we support families and children and different, whatever, if there's legislative advocacy or if there's anything that we can do to support policies and procedures in organizations or in the state. So really trying to promote advocacy and awareness and training is really our main three things that we do. And I'll let Teresa kind of add whatever I missed on all of that.
I don't think you missed anything. I think that was pretty good. Our day-to-day operations are simply, reaching out to organizations across the state, and we've been able to do a more concerted effort in that. We're also really integrated into a lot of the networks that are existing around families and children, and that way we kind of have access to those that are working directly with programs and families. And that's been a critical part of our work too, because indirectly we want to improve the way that programs already working with children and families doing that direct service. We want to impact the success of those programs. We want to impact the delivery and modality of services across the state and just improve outcomes across the board.
That's really exciting what you both said, because, having learned so much over the years in this space after joining Exchange, I like what you said about how everyone can do something. And really, that's why this national project for Exchange is so important to clubs, even if they don't have a center nearby, just some center that's doing this work, because they're everywhere and everybody can do something. To your point, one of my biggest learning experiences was, I remember when Teresa was at one of our convention symposiums and talked about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and I was completely unfamiliar with that, but it was such an amazing learning moment and so important. And I thought, and to your point, everybody can do something. Everybody can be made more aware of these types of things, and all of the programs that you both mentioned, bringing them all together, finding the right resource, and really educating the public and bringing awareness to what the average person who's not a professional in this area can really do to help keep children safe.
Absolutely. And I know one of your upcoming initiatives involves trauma training seminars. Why is trauma-informed education such a critical piece to preventing child abuse?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing and the way that I can explain it best is that when we understand how the brain works, we understand better how people respond and react to things. And so we talk a lot about brain architecture and the way that trauma impacts how the brain develops over time. And so that's probably our biggest thing, is really helping everyone to understand on a very simple level it's not complicated necessarily, and we want to make sure as we deliver this information that everyone can understand it. So I think that's kind of our claim to fame, is that we have a great way of delivering the information in a way that's very understandable. And so whether you're working directly with families, you understand better how they hear the things that you have to say, how they respond to service delivery. And then if you are maybe just someone out of the general public or a business owner, say, you have a better understanding of what person you might meet in a social situation or as an employee might respond and react to certain things. So it's really gaining just some insights around how the brain is impacted by trauma. So I think that's the biggest thing. Stacy, I'm sure you want to add something.
Well, I just to add to that is, and Teresa kind of touched on it, is we want everybody to have this information. It's not just for, people that are working with families. It's for, like she said, the businesses to understand your employees. It's if you've got a school, it's the teachers and the administrative staff down to the people that drive the bus and the people that serve the lunch and the people that are cleaning the building. So everybody having this information. Even I worked with one nonprofit that they work a lot with volunteers. They have the families that they work with volunteers, and they had me come in and talk. And because they have volunteers that then work with the families, and then they also have some staff. But their volunteer people just did not understand where the families were at with the families that were coming in, and they were so frustrated with that. And I just saw so many light bulbs come on when they were like, oh, now I understand why this person, is always sick, or why they, have childcare issues, why they can't get there on time, or, why they're not showing up, or, just all the reasons, and then also that, not looking at, well, what's wrong with this person, but what's happened to them is a big thing. And I see that even in agencies that do work with families that aren't volunteers, but that are staff members that have, need reminders of that. I think we all do. It's, this person is probably going through something, and it's probably not me. It's probably not directed at me. It's probably something that they're going through, and I'm taking it personally. And so just having a different lens and having a different lens as we're dealing with people is important for everybody.
Ah, well said.
Right.
Yeah. That's a nice nugget to take away from this podcast.
Definitely.
So, what type of changes have you seen, or feedback have you received after one of your trainings?
Oh my God.
You want to go, Teresa? I've just been talking.
I think that's the thing that keeps us going. That's like oxygen for us, is the positive feedback that we always hear. Here in Missoula, and for people's visual, Stacy and I are about 5.5 hours apart in Montana, and that's only halfway across the state. So we have some distance. So it's not rare necessarily, but our time training together is really dictated by distance sometimes. So here in Missoula, one of our other trainers and I, you all know our center director out of Missoula, Ivy Anderson,
Yes.
and she and I have been training hospital staff. And I could not believe, when you think about hospital staff, and I think this is something we get in our head as like this professional staff, and they know all of this stuff already, or something along those lines. And we went in and we had a lot of different folks in our training, everything from students in social work to a hospital administrator. And after the training, we had half of the folks in the presentation come up to us afterwards and just say, that blew me away, or I can't believe that not everybody knows this, or everybody should go through this training. The one I love the most is, this is going to impact the way I do my work from now on.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So it's not just, oh, this was a great training. It's life changing. And so that keeps me going. I know we need to continue to do our trainings out there.
Excellent.
I can add just one thing that happened to me last week that just kind of, I don't know, it was a great, probably one of the best parts of my week was I've been doing a training, the Complex Trauma 101, and I've had to go several different weeks. It's a 6-hour training, but I've gone in several different weeks. And I've been training people that are house leads for sober living houses. And one of the leads came back the next week, and during the training, we showed some of the things I do. I bring in some short little videos to kind of go along with it, so they're not just hearing me talk all the time. And we do a lot of fun activities as well. And this particular time, I showed a video on brain development, and she came back and she said, "You know what? I showed that video to the ladies in my house, and we talked about it." And I thought that was so awesome that they're using that information, and she's educating other people that she's working with. So that was exciting for me.
Oh, the butterfly effect.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm thinking about the members and the clubs who really have the heart to do something, right? They believe in our national project. They want to get involved. Sometimes they just don't know where to start. And I know you'll probably get that question at conventions. So what's a meaningful action that a member or a club could take in any community across the country if they wanted to learn more, get involved, help with prevention efforts? What do you suggest they would do?
I think just, if you have a local prevention center, just getting involved with them is really important. If you don't, then getting involved with another organization in town that does prevention work and finding out what do they need. Sometimes they need real tangible things, and sometimes they need volunteers. Sometimes, you need parent aid, volunteers to do the parent aid program, which is awesome. I've loved training. I've trained several Exchange Club members in the parent aid program, and that's exciting when they can do that work and see how that's impactful for families. So, and then also just taking trainings if they want to schedule a training for themselves or for their clubs, or schedule some trainings. And like I said, we can be fairly flexible with things. We want to meet people where they're at. Some of our trainings are kind of long, but we can either bring in specific information that people might be interested in, or like I said, with this other organization, I was doing it throughout several different weeks. So there's just lots of ways that clubs can get involved, and planning the pinwheels is great, and wearing your lapel pins and all of that, and wearing blue on Mondays, all that stuff in April, but then also talking about it, talking to people, being a voice, being an advocate is also huge.
And I'll just do a plug for our website, because I do think that, if people just committed to take, one small action every month, at the end of the year, we've got people who are doing something every single month that's really focused on prevention. And so I would say, even if that looks like going to our website, which is capnmt.org, and checking out our prevention and resources page, there's a resource that you can look up every single month that will give you more information about whether it's the impact of trauma, or different types of resources around ACEs, how to be more trauma informed. I always think of the quote from Dr. Vincent Folletti, who is a co-principal director of the ACE study. And he said I think the quote goes, "I realize that asking and listening and accepting are a profound form of doing." And to me, that speaks volumes about trauma-informed care. We don't have to learn how to do something of a huge level. All we have to focus on is being more compassionate, more empathetic, and learning a little bit more as much as possible about how trauma impacts the brain.
This is great learning for clubs and members, because I like that idea about how you could literally do something every month, which is really what people are looking for.
Yeah,
They're looking to do something on a more regular basis rather than let me just do this once a year.
Right.
A monthly thing would be great for our club. So I'm excited to continue to have that conversation. That's awesome.
So
I would like to add also, our club has a weekly newsletter and then also monthly newsletter, but there's always a prevention corner in that newsletter. And I think that's really helpful. It keeps prevention in the minds of the club members, and then also talks about what's happening, with prevention or what they can do. So that's another way that clubs can keep that forefront, and maybe they put in there, here, check out this resource, or even in a meeting, they could, once a month, they could say, okay, this is what I found on the website, or this is what I looked up, or just keeping prevention, in the forefront, I think is awesome and would be great for clubs to do.
Definitely.
Yes.
I agree.
So what's next for Child Abuse Montana? Child Abuse Prevention Montana.
I would love to talk about our this documentary called Seen that we have. Teresa found it.
Great.
But I'll kind of give a brief overview, and then Teresa, if you want to add to that, you can. But it's a documentary that, and I don't remember what country it was in. Teresa, what country did it?
Australia.
So it was made in Australia. Teresa actually brought it over to Missoula last fall for a screening. And then we did a screening of it at our state child abuse and neglect prevention conference last month. And it's a feature-length documentary focused on parental healing, attachment, and child brain development. It explores how parents can break generational patterns by confronting their own childhood experiences, featuring expert insights and real-life stories. So there's stories from about 4 different parents, and it also shows their children and their relationships with their children. And then there's experts that also are in there talking about it. There's a lot of talk about rupture and repair, and it's just such a moving film. It's about an hour and a half, and I'll let Teresa kind of add a little bit in if you want to talk about it as well.
Well, the only thing that I would add, that was an excellent overview of it. And I think the reason that we found it so moving and so impactful was because we don't often hear, which is crazy because we're at a time where we should hear more fathers' voices in all of this. And this documentary actually showcases several fathers' experiences, and not only from their viewpoint, but from their children's viewpoint. And so that I get goosebumps talking about it because it's so powerful. So the father's voice, we are really trying to find ways that we can share their experience more, and talk about how this should be inclusive. We should be bringing, both all caregivers. And I won't say just moms and dads. We have grandparents who are caring for their families. So we need to be inclusive and bring all of the folks that are caregiving to the table for this. And so I think that's one of the things I found most powerful about it.
Fantastic. My gosh, I feel like we have so much more to talk about. We will definitely have you back, because I don't think we've even
scraped the surface.
No, not at all. But we appreciate you joining us, and looking forward to, I know that our listeners, especially those who will be joining us in Omaha for the National Exchange Club Convention, please go to these sessions, learn more. We definitely want to continue the discussion and take a lot of this back to our network, because it is so valuable, so helpful, and so necessary. So we appreciate both of you and the work that you do. We love to have you back and look forward to just continuing the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of this expertise with our audience.
I want to learn more. So I know that's how everybody out there is feeling. We appreciate you. Thanks to Stacy, Dreessen, and Teresa Nygaard from Child Abuse Prevention Montana for joining us today. And to learn more, join us for the National Exchange Club Convention in Omaha, Nebraska. To learn more about that, please visit nationalexchangeclub.org. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talk Exchange. Wow, that went so fast.
I did.
Yeah, I did.
We normally have about a 20-minute episode because that's typically, an attention span for a podcast. But oh my